Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet a Gallup-Certified strength coach. She's going to talk about her journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, there are so many individuals who are just bright and funny and can relate to people, but they find themselves stuck in a job that is not leading them to success. And it could be because the job that they're doing does not play to their strengths. Somebody who knows that very well, and she coaches on this, is in the studio right now, Lisha Ruda. She's a Gallup-Certified strengths coach. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And we see this all the time where, like, maybe you have a salesperson who's great at sales, and then we promote he or her to sales manager, and they're not really a leader. They're not, they're not cut out for it. So when you coach people, what kinds of things what exercises do you do?
Well, so Gallup has actually developed an assessment. It takes about 30, maybe 40 minutes, so it's not overwhelming. And it has 34 different strengths that are listed. So that's what everybody does first when I coach them. And so then we just take that information and we talk through it. We talk about, there's 2 different ones, so you can do your top 5. And so that just gives us, in my opinion, it just gives like an overview.
Yes.
But I like to dig a little deeper. So I really love to have your entire report in front of me when we're coaching.
Right.
So that I know not only your top 5, but then what's kind of right below that. Because for instance, myself, I have 4 influencer talents, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I have a relationship talent as number 5. So you would think that maybe I can't execute, maybe I don't have a lot of strategic thinking, but I have strategic as number 7. So I really can dig and pull that out. And I love getting my hands in my customers' businesses and just kind of looking at what processes are working and what's not working. So I love just having that report to kind of guide us as we talk about what are you good at, what do you need to let go.
Right. And so if you're at least interested or qualified in certain strengths, you can do well. You can up those strengths. But for instance, I'm bad at math. I would be a horrible engineer. It would bore me to death. I love communicating. I love interviews like this. So you can't really teach me to be an engineer, can you?
Correct. And it will make you miserable.
Yeah.
And life's too short for that. So that is something that I really encourage everybody to look at their strengths, but also look at what's on the bottom. And we do. When we sit down, whether I have some people that coached me for 3 months, and we really dive deep into, these are the things that you were created to do, but then we look at the bottom and we go, let's just let these things go.
Yes.
Because no matter how many engineering classes, and I'm the same way, don't ask me to do a spreadsheet. Don't ask me to do math. I want to love on people. I love my people well. And I feel like you're the same way.
Absolutely.
We want to network. We want to love on people. We want to connect people, right?
Yes.
But we need those people. We need the guys back here that are doing all of the things that we don't do well, right? And they're so happy to do that. And they're so fulfilled in their jobs. And so I've found when I'm helping, I'll have a CEO or a business owner come to me and they'll say, we're not executing well. We're not getting our systems in place very well. And I'm like, well, that's because you most likely have hired yourself and you've copy pasted and you have no one that wants to do the math and no one that wants to do the spreadsheets.
I was on your social media and I found a picture of your dad. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen because I think So we derive so much from our parents. Tell us about your dad. You lost him in 2019?
I did. He was just such a fun guy. Taught me how to two-step. We danced in the kitchen growing up. He had a really big personality. He was one of my strengths is it's woo, which stands for winning others over. And my dad definitely had that, just always, being silly and kind of cutting up with us. And so it was fun. He was an entrepreneur. So I think watching him just create. And it was exciting.
As you kind of look at your career, how much is taught and how much is just heredity?
I think that's just such a good question. My personal opinion is that you're just born with innate talents, And yes, I mean, we come into contact with people, and I have phenomenal mentors, and I loved touring your studios today. And
thank you.
And I think it's inspiring, right? Like, it's inspiring to see other people that have really brought to fruition the things that are strong for you, right? But then also, when you're working in your strengths, you're serving others well, but it's like such a joyful outpouring, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not tedious, and it's not like, oh man, I got to come to work today. And even I drove an hour to be here this morning.
Thank you for
because
that.
It was but I'm excited. It wasn't because this is something that I am gifted in. I love to connect, and this is something that gives me, when I'm with my clients and they call me and they say, hey, we finally got that right person in this position.
Yes.
Or my CEOs are like, most of the CEOs that I work with, I'm like, we have to let some things go. We're not good at everything. And so, getting those calls and hearing back. So I definitely feel like that we are born with our talents.
Yes.
And we need to run with those. And it's just such a blessing when we're in our zone of genius, right? Because then we're not bogged down.
Yes.
We're happy, and other people see that. So
Amen. And I know you have 3 kiddos. So what do you want your kiddos to learn from the life that you're living right now?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm married to a fighter pilot, and so we've had a lot of change, and I've had to reinvent myself. And my most important job is being their mom. And so it's been just, I hope that they see the tenacity that I've had to reinvent each time we've moved and create networks and streams of income to support them. And I love, having my oldest. I've had my oldest here the past 2 times, this time and last time. And I was telling one of your employees, like, I tried to get my middle child to come over here, but I have not successfely bathed her in the entrepreneur. She wanted to go to school. And I was like, no, come and experience with us today. So maybe next time we'll get her over here.
We've got some video from our library of female bosses, because I know you love to work with executives and especially female executives. What is it about this space that you love to play in?
I think that there are so many times that as women, we're told that you can't have it all. And I do agree with that. But at the same time, I feel like entrepreneurship offers such a unique opportunity to create the family that you want, as well as create a space for ourselves, right, to shine. And I think that's so important. As mothers are just we are uniquely talented to, be in the home and have our children and make sure that is a priority, but also, man, we've got a lot to offer other women, and I love that community.
Let's talk about imposter syndrome, because men have this as well, but I think it's very difficult to be a female leader in general. If you're too tough, suddenly you're that word
Yes.
starts
Yes.
with a B.
Yes,
And if you're too lenient, people are running all over you. So talk about the challenges of a female leader.
Oh, we could talk about that a long time. Yeah, I think that for me, the most impactful thing was going through this Strengths Finders program with a coach that I hired. I was probably in my mid-30s, and it really shifted me from trying to be everything to everybody and really just being able to walk into any situation and say, this is what I bring to the table. This is what I'm good at. And just having my shoulders back and being able to put my hands on the table and say, this is what I'm good at. And these are the things that I can't do. And just having that be authentic. And I feel like that then you draw the people to you that are supposed to be there. And so, yeah.
Well, I can see why you're so successful. You have a great deal of empathy, and people want to know that you've walked a mile in their stilettos.
Yes.
So I want to talk about one of your favorite stories of a person or people you've helped.
So I coached a mother-daughter team, and those of us with oldest firstborn daughters, I think that it is often difficult when we are allowing our kids to be themselves, and sometimes we get in our own way of those relationships. And so I had a mama come to me, and she was like, man, my daughter is just very critical. She just felt like that. And mom is a free spirit, and daughter is just more grounded, and, you know, definitely different strengths for sure. And so as we started going through the strengths with the daughter, and I was just going through each individual bullet point and telling mom, when your daughter comes into a space and you feel like she's being critical, she's actually wanting to develop. She's wanting to develop the space to function better. And she's not being critical. She's actually trying to be helpful. And so it just reframed and softened things in such a way for mom. And it really brought a lot of restoration to that relationship. So that was very fulfilling for me.
Tell me what a great client looks like for you.
Oh, goodness. A great client for me is somebody that is just willing to pivot, I think. When I coach college-age kids, I tell the parents, if parents are paying, I'm like, I'm going to tell your kids to quit some things. Because, you know, my generation, your generation, we were told, you don't quit anything. But I think that we have done ourselves a great disservice, and certainly our children, in that, like, find what you're gifted in. And certainly there are times that we have to do hard things, but there's enough of that in life. You know, I lost both my parents at a young age, and that was really hard. And I met that, certainly not perfectly. It was definitely a rocky season, but we have to do enough hard things that I think our kids are going to be okay if we have given them that underpinning. And so, I tell kids, like, it's okay to quit. So my ideal client is flexible, is ready to pivot, is ready to be open to new ideas, and maybe looking at things non-conventionally sometimes.
Yeah. Do you find that, do women beat themselves up more than men in general? Like, I'm imagining the female executive who's climbing the ladder, she might not be there for the soccer games, where a guy might be able to put it in a compartment and say, I'm not there at the soccer game because I'm providing for this family.
Yeah, I do think that we do beat ourselves up more, and that is something that I do talk to my clients about, is like, how are we showing up well for ourselves? Because we show up well for everybody else. You know, I think as women, we show up well for our boss, we show up well for our children, we show up well in our homes, in our marriages. But most of the women that I coach, I'm like, you know, you probably will cry. And they're like, oh, I won't cry. But I'm really passionate about, I want women to be able to say, I'm not going to the soccer game today because I'm going to the spa. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to do something, you know, I've been at 90% of the soccer games. You know?
Yes.
And that's okay. And my kids know that I support them.
Yes.
And as women, I think it's it's in life, it's a balance. But yes, I think women need to take the time to say, and we need to show that to our kids.
Yes. Amen. In the final minute or so, I want you to look into the camera on the left and talk to the woman who's struggling right now, wants to reach that next gear. Talk to her about why she might need to give you a call.
Okay. I think that my own personal story of being in my mid-30s and just really not having the confidence that I needed and that I saw others around me having, and I loved being a part of the StrengthsFinders program because it really gave me the ability to talk about what I am good at, and it gave me the ability to say no. And that no is a complete sentence, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to have healthy boundaries. We don't just let anyone into our homes, and so I think it's important that we all learn how to say no to the things that we're not good at and we're not called to. And hiring people was key for me, putting the right people in the right spots. And so if you are feeling like you have to be good at everything all the time, then call me, because I definitely can help you get the right people in the right spot so that you can do what you were designed to do and do it well. And you can be a blessing to other people because they need to be in those roles.
Wow. Lisha, you are amazing. So you inspire me. Thank you. We're going to end with your Instagram page. We're going to put it up on the screen. The great Lisha Ruda. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.